So is everybody, because I had this conversation with Gary Vaynerchuk, okay? And I said, Gary, like, do you think anybody can be an entrepreneur? And he's like, no. What do you think?
Absolutely they can.
Yeah.
100%. And by the way, you got to realize this. I think Gary's dominating the marketplace right now. You think about the marketplace, I think he was just on the cover of Entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. He's been the cover of Inc., social media. He's a rock star. When you think about social media, you link it to Gary. So there's got to be respect for what he's doing. On the flip side of it, he took a business from 3 to 60 million. Mm-hmm. Okay? And that's a big number. But somebody took the business from 0 to 3 million.
Right.
And that's his father. So he had the opportunity to see somebody that's winning big.
Yeah.
He witnessed that.
Yeah.
So the dad said, here, if you want to go out there and do the social media side, I know nothing about it.
Right.
Gary's got a big mouth. He's got the New York spirit in it. He comes out, he's got the immigrant fire in him. And it takes off. Now, he also says a lot of times that on the opposite side, my mom and dad loved me and they poured a lot of love into me. I mean, I think that's 1 in 100 when you hear a story like that. Most families you hear about, parents got a divorce, dad wasn't around, they have mama issues, they have some kind of thing that they grew up that wasn't necessarily the best type of relationships. But I believe anybody can be an entrepreneur.
And that was my point of contention.
Anybody can be an entrepreneur. However, I will tell you the however part. How big is not everybody can build a massive business. The world of capitalism is stemmed from competition. If there was no leader's bulletin, nobody would follow baseball.
I got to tell you something. You're not going to like. I would much rather communism than capitalism.
You would much rather like communism than capitalism?
I would much rather.
Why don't we ship you off to a communistic country? Go to Albania or go to.
I was the ruler of the country. The ultimate capitalism.
I would much rather.
The ultimate. Listen, just with an open mind for a second. Keep it open.
Too much control.
Dude, is communism.
My mother's family communists, man. These guys ran Karl Marx. They read it like a Bible.
Because your parents were on the end of it. Dude.
Well, my father was an imperialist. My mother said they were communists. So you're talking about it from a guy that lived in Iran. That family escaped from Russia to come because of Stalin and Lenin, and my dad escaped Iraq with the Syrians to come to Iran. So listen, that makes sense if you're driven by power. I'm not driven by power. Power is not something. Power comes easy to me. I'm not driven by that. Look at guys that when they're in high school, they come out of college. One guy decides to go into politics right off the bat. He's not driven by money. He's driven by power. One guy decides to go into business. He's driven by, look, I just want to have money so I can live wherever I want to be, control my own life, right? Communism is power. Capitalism is freedom. So in capitalism, if you don't compete and you don't improve, someone's going to whoop your ass.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, but that's not communism or capitalism. That is just the life cycle. If you're not getting better.
But in communism, you can't compete. There is no competition.
Well, sure you can.
No, you cannot compete. Under the table, you're doing under the table.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. Hell, I don't even know what I'm talking about. That's why I bring you guys in. When is somebody ready to go to be a boss? How did you know you were ready to be the boss?
I think it's backwards, man. I don't think it's when are you ready. I think what are you solving for? Because that's the thing. What are you solving for? So solve for X. What is X? X is never just being a boss. X is, it's a number, it's a lifestyle, it's a place you want to live, it's control, it's those things. So if you're solving for that, it doesn't always make sense. I know a lot of guys that are employees that work for some big companies and got equity and they're worth $100 million. 200 million.
Well, Steve Ballmer, one of the richest guys in the world.
$22 billion was an employee.
He was never, ever the CEO. Well, he was the CEO, but he never worked. It was not his company.
After Gates, when he decided, he gave it to him. So instead of saying, like, there's too many of these boss stuff going on where everybody wants to be a boss, what are you solving for? Because a lot of times, Grant, I mean, you know this. I'm sure you got sales guys here that they work with you, so they have an experience. They're gonna be able to learn, and they can make a lot of money working with you. Then they date a girl, or they have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a husband or wife, and they go home at night and they say, I can't believe you're doing this. Why don't you go and do this? And then they go off and they try to do their own thing, and then they fail, and then they call you back, and then they come back, and there's a lot of those stories.
They don't call me back.
And I think a lot of times it's because they're not solving for X. I think they're not solving for X.
No, I think they do have X, though. Like you said, hey, I want to be my own guy. I want to make the money. I want the freedom. And I think that's the problem.
But the solution isn't always, the route to get there is not always the way you think. Iverson stayed in Philadelphia for his entire career. He never won a championship. So what are you solving for? Are you solving for a championship? What are you solving for?
What should a guy be solving for? I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, to me, I mean, you ask me right now, take sales and put it aside. Yeah. If I were to tell you what is the number one quality of a person that goes straight to the top is learning how to process issues. So
processing issues.
Processing issues to me is solving for X.